So I use Notion literally every single day for my work, YouTube, and life. And here's how I structure my job as a manager. I came up with the system because I forget things, and when manager forgets what tasks she assigned to her team or what she promised to her employees, this is not good. I will walk you through how I manage my team, one-to-ones, their goals, team retros, and many more. But first, what is Notion? If you already know, skip to the timecode. Notion is basically a productivity and note-taking app. Some note-taking apps gives you a lot of structure, like Trello or Todoist. And there are tools like Excel, where technically you kind of do whatever you want, but it will not be convenient and most likely will not look nice. Notion is kind of in a sweet spot, and it is so popular because it is both very flexible and it does look nice, but you will see in a second. Until this minute, I cannot believe that this video is not sponsored by Notion. This is tragedy. Now, if you're a manager, I move from the assumption that you most likely have a calendar tool that your company uses. So everything I'm about to show you now does not aim at replacing your current tools, but complementing it. Let's move closer. All right, let's dive in. On the front page, you're seeing basically a page/dashboard that consolidates everything that you will be working with. I call it manager's cockpit. This is an analogy that I personally relate to. The core of the system is your team. There are Notion templates that are more task-focused. In our case, it is more people-focused. So the first thing you can see is a table with all of your team members. As a hardcore anime fan, I added a few characters here to showcase you the functionality, because I obviously cannot show you the real page that I use for my work. And by the way, it can be as big and small as you wish. For example, right now, I don't manage that many people, but the biggest team I was managing was 19 or 20 people, so this list was very big. First, you have a name of a person, you have a role, a position that this person occupies in your company and in your team. And there are also a few things that I believe is nice for manager to remember, like birthdays or the day when this person joined the team. And if this is a newcomer, you also have a probation period date. So it is pretty straightforward on how to edit it. You can just click on it and you can pick another role, or you can remove it and start typing it all together, click create, and it will create a new role. The same goes with birthdays. You click, it suggests you the calendar, and you can pick the date. So now here's where the actual magic happens, because every line with the name is actually a page where there is a lot of information that you can consolidate about the employee. So if I open it, you will see, let me do full screen. So you will see that for this employee, we have all of these parameters that we just saw, and also we have one-to-ones and check-ins. With each of your employees, managers are doing regular one-to-ones. If you don't do, then you should start doing it. And usually these one-to-ones can be very content heavy. Manager and employee, they bring their agenda, they talk about a lot of stuff, they agree on things that it's better to note somewhere. So in this page, first of all, there are pre-created lists for all of your one-to-ones. If you have it twice a month, this is give or take as much as you will need. And for each of those, you can pick a date. Today is 1st of August. Oh my God, the time flies so fast. And you can start writing, typing, and you can make notes. You can make notes in advance before you start your one-to-one to remember what you want to discuss. And you can just write things down along the way. Check the reports next month, anything. And it will be safe and stored here for you to always access it. So on top of the section, you see a link that is called How to Do One-to-Ones. So what I did is, for this template, I created several concise and actionable guidelines that I believe each manager should know and use. And this includes such practical things as how to do one-to-ones. So if I click on it, I can always remind myself about what do I need to do for the one-to-one. It contains description of what it is, how it is different from the check-in, and step-by-step guide on how to prepare for a one-to-one. But we will get to that later. The second section that we're having in every employee's page is check-ins. So check-ins are not the same as one-to-ones. And here on top of the section, you also have a link to a page that will remind you with a guideline on how to do check-in. The main difference between one-to-one and check-in is that one-to-ones are more operational in nature, and check-ins are the connects, usually like once a month, with the purpose of you and your employee to talk about things that we usually as managers never find the time to do when we speak about like in operational settings, because every single day we have the firefighting, we have something burning, and it is very important to allocate a time, dedicated time, to take a step back and to talk about other things, such as feedback to each other, or for example, ask your employee about their career goals. You're having this overview of why do you even need to do check-ins in the first place. Big picture talk, time for feedback. We sometimes skip this and don't find the time to give each other feedback. Career chat, career conversations, very important, together with the well-being check. And my best tips on how to run a successful check-in. Now, you don't do check-ins too often, but I would say once a month is good. And again, here you can write down all of the notes, all of your thoughts, and use it to also prepare for a check-in with your employees. Now, the third section is a section with goals. Each employee has goals, objectives, you give tasks to your employees. So this is a space where you can store it. So for example, in the beginning of the year, you want to give this person a new task. So you can just click new and write it down in a section not started. For example, I don't know, let's take finish upskilling course. It's always like, why is it always what? No, I refuse. Upskilling is a correct word. I want to believe. So it is very convenient because every time you're having a one-to-one conversation with the person, you can just open this page and always look at which objectives, which tasks are not started, which tasks are in progress, and what is done. Next time I will be doing one-to-one, I can just ask how the thing's going with an upskilling course. And if the person started, I will move it to in progress, and I will never forget what is currently at which stage. Now let's go back to the cockpit. So on the right side of the team members table, you will see a to-do list. To be honest, this is not my main to-do list, but I keep it here because I sometimes have like bright ideas or something that I'm very scared to forget that is connected specifically to managing the team. I wanted to give a task or I wanted to ask something. So I use it as an operational to-do list. If you want to add something, you can just type new task. That's boring. Let's have, I don't know, organize team building, and you can add whatever you want. And if it's done, you can just click and it will be marked as done. And to be honest, when it's too much, I sometimes just remove it because I use it more like an operational buffer, but with time I realized that I actually need this section. Now, if I scroll down, I will see an overview of goals of everyone. It's basically a view that tells me what are all of the things that my team is working on. The columns are allocated to each person, so this is a person's name. And just at a glance, you can say who is working on what and what is happening at which stage. So having this information on the page of an employee helps me when I do one-to-ones. And this overview on the main page rather helps me to take a holistic view on everything that my team is working on right now. But the thing is, I'm a project manager for many years, so if the thing doesn't have a date, then it doesn't fully make sense to me. So on the top, you can switch between two views: goals by person and goals on the calendar. If you click here, you will see how all of the goals that are added in the template are distributed on the timeline. They're filtered by person and then by date, so I can easily see on the timeline what is happening. Here's how I work with it. So first of all, if something is done and it is in the past, it is great. The calendar always reminds me about what is the date today. Today is the 1st of August and it is very late, oh my God. Because I use it for work, it still feels like I'm working, although I'm actually not, but that's not the point. For example, today is the 1st of August. I can see that some of the tasks are in progress, and it is pretty much according to the timeline that I set for it. But if I see that something is marked not started, although the date suggests that it should be, this is something that I can raise on my next one-to-one with apparently Naruto Uzumaki. Oh, by the way, every line with the goal is also a page. You can click on it, and this is where you can set the dates. It can be just a date, just one day, or it can be a period of time if it's not event, but something that the person's supposed to work for a long time. So you can set, I promise I can speak English. You can set the starting date, and you can also set the end date. And this will all be nicely I do promise, nicely reflected on the roadmap. And you can even drag the starting and end date if something changes. So the view by person helps you to look at the workload of each person and your team altogether. And the view on calendar helps you make sense of are the timelines okay or not. So before I move on to the part with the team management toolkit, which if you ask me is the most exciting in here, let's add one team member. And imagine that we're hiring someone in the team and just go through the full process together. So to do this, on the very top of the page in the table of team members, you need to click new, type the name. Who do we hire? I don't know, for 2 days straight, I'm thinking about a song of Sabrina Carpenter. Think about me, never. So let's have Sabrina Carpenter. I hope it's typed it correctly. Oh, apparently yes. So for Sabrina, we will need to decide the role. Let's go with junior developer. So click create. I also like to have a consistency in the color coding, so you can change the colors like this. We need to have a birthday. Do we? May 19th, 1999. Let's be it. 19th. 1999. And when she joined the team. So we're saying she will join us today from the 1st of August. And the probation period. So let's take 1 month to the 1st of September. Now, the great thing about this template is when we created a new line for a new person, it already creates the page with the template. So if I open it, you will see that everything is already there. We have the templates with the dates for one-to-ones and a link to a guideline and a reminder on how to do it. The same with check-ins. Now, the only thing that we will need to do is, by default, the goals are not filtered by person. So what we'll need to do is to filter by her name. So first, let's create a goal. Let's have get onboarded. Just get onboarded. That's already enough. So when I click at the goal, I can assign it to a specific person. So what I need to do is just one time click here and enter her name. Sabrina Carpenter. I click create, color coding once again. And that's basically it. I can go to filter by person. We'll pick a person and click on Sabrina. Now you will see that the only goal that she has is to get onboarded, and it is in a status not started. And if I close her page and scroll down below, first of all, you will see the goal appearing in the list of all of the goals. And in goal by person view, there will be a column for her automatically created. So everything will be consistent. Now let's scroll down below to the most interesting part, and it is team management toolkit. So one of the biggest problems that I saw in many new managers, actually, no, it's not new managers, it's many managers, even those who manage and lead teams for a long time. Sometimes we tend to forget about some of the things that are a part of our job and things that we're supposed to do. So that's why I created this set of pages with the short guidelines and reminders for you to know what can you do as a manager and have hints and step-by-step guides straight away. So for example, there is a how-to column where you have the pages that will guide you through how to do one-to-ones, check-ins, and performance reviews. So if I go to, it will be the same page that you saw on the employees page. So this is where there is a link to the same page with the same guideline. This one we saw. So the second pillar is what can you do with your team together? So first of all, there are retrospectives. And there is, for some reason, there is kind of a misconception that retros is something that only agile teams or product teams should do. I totally disagree. I think in any settings, it is very helpful for a manager to do retros from time to time, basically reflect with your team about what went well in last quarter or half a year, or what maybe can be improved. So there are a few crucial steps here. First of all, you need to decide why do you want to do retrospective in the first place, because it can serve different purposes. It can be to improve the performance of your team. If something is not going well, you want to reflect together about what is it? Or it can be for transparency, like if you feel that the culture in the team is not like welcoming feedback, for example, or for inspiration. Sometimes it is good to have all of the experts in the team together to brainstorm on how do we tackle the next challenge that is in front of us. So if you've never done and facilitated retros in your life, it can be a little bit tricky. So here's my step-by-step guide. Decide how often do you want to do this. Explain your team what is it about and what to expect. It's always nice. Prepare the retro, pick a framework, which one do you want to use to make your retrospective serve the purpose that you aim for. And to be honest, especially if you've never done that before, I vote for the simplest structure possible. There is like good old classic start, stop, continue. So you brainstorm on all of the things you want to start doing, stop doing, and continue doing. Or like even simpler, what worked well, what did not work well. Maybe once you get a gist, you will go with something a little bit more extravagant. There are very different types of retros. And I even mentioned a few of the tools that I used to use and use until this day to facilitate these retros for my team. There are several rules though that you should follow on each retro. For example, retro is supposed to be a zero blame zone, or we focus on the issues, not on individuals. So with this guideline, you will be able to run a simple, straightforward retro, but in most of the cases, this is actually enough. There are other things that you can do with your team, for example, team buildings. And first, of course, you need to think about why do you want to do team building? What do you want to improve? Because having just fun for the sake of fun, sometimes, I don't know, I know managers who are kind of very much into a team building culture, and they can get out of touch very easily in a way that sometimes team doesn't want it, or for example, sometimes managers force their idea of having fun on their teams, and it is like forceful and like it's awkward, and yeah, don't do that. So for that, you first need to ask team what they want. Listen to what they say and don't push your opinion on how team building should look like. Don't force it on everyone, okay? Then I'll leave a small guidance about how to plan and prepare. So for example, what helps is to invite one person from the team as a helper for the organization of the event itself. And after everything is done, don't forget to reflect and follow up, meaning gather feedback and think about what can you improve the next time. But apart from team buildings, there is also a thing that I also really like, and it's called team retreat. Disclaimer here, I know not every team have a budget or can even afford a team retreat. I am not talking about taking your whole team to fly to Greece or something, although it would be nice. I don't know, I worked in big companies and small companies, on regular positions, on directors positions, and never ever in my life I had a budget to take my team for a retreat. But if you do, if you live in a world where you can do that, this is fantastic. So please don't forget to do that. It is a nice chance for the team to have a getaway, to disconnect from operational work, to celebrate successes, to boost team spirit, and maybe also invest this time into a strategic planning. And in this case as well, after you understand what you need, what do you need to do? You need to ask your team what they want, because we don't want to be managers who are forcing their definitions of good on people without asking them. The very last section is what I call special occasions. So throughout your journey as a manager, there can be times where you need a little bit of specific help. So first one is when your employee is ready to take a new challenge. In this situation, in order to support this person, what we often do is we create IDP, Individual Development Plan. It is basically the agreement between the company and the employee on what they should learn, develop, and improve in their performance to maybe level up somewhere in the future. So I know that in some companies they have a recommended IDP template, but in many companies they actually don't. So if you find yourself as a manager in this situation, this is a step-by-step guide on how to prepare your inputs for IDP, how to meet the employee, how to track the execution, and also a very simple and straightforward format for IDP that you can use to structure all of the support that you want to show to your employee. Now, IDP we do for employees who are performing well and we want to prepare them for a new challenge. But sometimes what happens is employees are underperforming. And for that, we don't need IDP. For that, we need what is called performance improvement plan. Do not confuse one with another. Performance improvement plan is aimed at helping your employee get to the expected level of performance in a role that this employee already occupies. And if you want to support your employee on going above that for a next challenge, this is a job for IDP. Performance improvement plan is tricky because it's actually not always needed. So there are some occasions where performance cannot be improved altogether, right? So I give you a few guiding questions for you to understand if you need this performance improvement plan in the first place. Then some guidance on how to collect your inputs, meet the employee, and track the execution, together with a simple, straightforward template. As a manager, you should formulate first, what are the expectations from the role? To measure someone, you need to know what the baseline is first, right? Then you will need to define the areas of concern. What is that area or type of tasks where the performance is not matching the expectation? And then create improvement goals with actionable steps and timelines for each. And the last two special occasions, kind of on the opposite spectrums of the life cycle of the employee, is the onboarding guide when someone new is joining your team and exit interview. So in onboarding guide, first of all, congratulations, having someone new in your team is always exciting. But as a manager, there are certain things that you have to take care of. For example, prepare the equipment that the person would work for, take care of the paperwork, and inform the team about the fact that there will be someone new who will be joining you. The first day activities are very important, so what we need to do is the proper introduction, a kick-off meeting between you and newcomer, and assigning this person a mentor or buddy, someone who will support them on their journey of setting in the team and in a company. And then there are a few things that I recommend for the first week integration and for the first month development. And the last one is exit interviews. Sometimes it happens that people leave the team, and this is also fine. Our job as managers is to capture as much information and insights on where we can improve as a company and as a team and as a manager as well, if the person already decided to leave. I know that not everyone is doing exit interviews. Sometimes it's done by HR, but I always recommend for managers to do proper exit interviews themselves. You will need to do a few things before you go for exit interview. For example, check the person's tenure, role, contributions. Always, before talking to a person, check who initiated the leave. It sounds like an unnecessary advice because, come on, you have a team of 5 people. Of course you know if it was voluntarily or not. But trust me, no. Sometimes if you're managing a bigger team, or for example, you have managers under you who also manage someone, just when your team is big, things like that slip away. Never ever allow this to slip away. There is almost nothing as embarrassing as asking a person, hey, why are you leaving the company? And them answering to you, you actually asked me to leave. Never happened to me. Happened to a friend of mine. I mean it. Happened to a friend of mine. The link for this template is in the description. It is absolutely free, and I genuinely hope that it will help you structure how you work with your team, because all of these things actually took years for me to kind of capture and learn that I was supposed to do as a manager. And I know that many managers work and grow in companies that does not even give them this type of guideline. So if it will help you, this is as much as I can hope for. And if you want to make your work a little bit less stressful, I made a video on a non-stress delegating and how to build a reliable team. So check it out if you like. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you there.